Hello dear students, in this video I will be explaining you the derivatives of monosaccharides and also disaccharides. So if you have watched my previous video on carbohydrates, you will be now able to understand the properties and structure of these derivatives. So what are monosaccharide derivatives? Basically, sugar derivatives are formed when a parent sugar is modified by some chemical reaction. So after modification, whatever the product we get is called as sugar derivative. In case of monosaccharide derivative, the monosaccharide molecules will be modified with substituents such as amino groups, acid group, phosphate group, acetate group, etc. So here the hydroxyl group will be replaced by either amino groups, acid, phosphate or acetate. So I have given some examples for monosaccharide derivative, that is aldonic acid, glucuronic acid and glucosamine. Also I have shown you the table which gives a list of common monosaccharides and their derivatives. For example, fructose can be modified to give galactosamine. Then galactose can be modified or derived component is N-acetyl galactosamine. Glucose can be modified to give N-acetyl glucosamine. Similarly, ribose can be modified to give N-acetyl nunamic acid. So these are some of the most common monosaccharide derivatives. So let's begin with amino sugars, which is also called as hexosamines. So what are amino sugars? Sugars which contain amino group in this structure is called as amino sugar. So it is basically this sugar molecule in which the hydroxyl group will be replaced with an amine group. So if you recall the structure of glucose, the hydroxyl group will be replaced here with an amino group. So far more than 60 amino sugars have been known, and the most abundant is N-acetyl D-glucosamine. So this is the main component of chitin, that is the component of cell wall of fungus. So I have given the types of amino sugars or hexosamine. The one is glycosylide amine. So here OH group is replaced by amino group. Then glycosamine. So here alcoholic OH group is replaced by a amine group. So two naturally occurring members of this glycosamine are derived from glucose and galactose. So in this one, OH group on the carbon 2 is replaced by a amine group, and this forms glucosamine and galactosamine respectively. So to give a clear picture, I have given you the structure for glucosamine and galactosamine. So you can see here at the C2 position, the amino group is replaced, the hydroxyl group is replaced with the amine group. So galactose is a C4 epimer of glucose. So you can see at the C4, it is the structures is very similar, but instead of C4OH there is a H in galactosamine. So we call galactose as a epimer of glucose. So you have to learn the structure and its importance. So if we see N-acetyl derivative of D-glucosamine, they occur as a component of certain mucopolysaccharides. So mucopolysaccharides are the sugar molecules which are found in mucus and in fluids around joints. And also glucosamine is considered as the chief organic component of the cell wall of fungi, and also a component of shells like crabs, lobsters. So here in this fungi and aquatic animals, this glucosamine occur as chitin. So this chitin consists of repeating units of N-acetyl glucosamine. So we often call glucosamine as chitosamine. So galactosamine, which occur as N-acetyl galactosamine in chondroitin sulfates, are present in the cartilages, bones, tendons and heart walls. So sometimes galactosamine is often called as chondrosamine. And if you see the role of amino sugars in antibiotics, certain antibiotics such as erythromycin, carbamazepine contain amino sugars. So the erythromycin contains dimethyl amino sugar and carbamazepine contains 3-amino D-ribose sugar. So it is believed that amino sugars are related to the antibiotic activity. Next, of what are sugar acids? So oxidation of aldehyde or primary alcohol group in monosaccharides results in sugar acids. So the most common gluconic acid is produced from glucose by oxidation of aldehyde at C1 position, whereas glucuronic acid is formed when there is a oxidation at position C6. So neuramic acid, this is the amino sugar acid, and structurally it is an aldol condensation product of pyruvic acid and D-manosamine. So neuramic acid is unstable and found in nature in the form of acylated derivatives known as sialic acid. So that is N-acetyl neuramic acid, NaNa. Then you also have muramic acid. This is another amino sugar acid which is structurally a condensation product of D-glucosamine and lactic acid. So in this slide you can see the structure of N-acetyl muramic acid and N-acetyl neuraminic acid. So if you see, N-acetyl muramic acid is formed from the derivative of N-acetyl glucosamine, by which there will be addition of lactic acid substituent. So this will result in a acetyl group at C3 position. So coming to the N-acetyl neuraminic acid, so this is a derivative of neuramic acid, which is a amino sugar. So here the acetyl group will be placed in the C5 position of the carbon chain. So after this structure you need to learn the importance of sugar acids. So at this point I would like to tell you that this is the most repetitive question in your exam. They will ask you the structure and importance of both N-acetyl muramic acid and N-acetyl neuraminic acid. So if you see, neuraminic acid and sialic acid, they both occur in a number of mucopolysaccharides and in glycolipids like gangliosides. So a number of nitrogenous oligosaccharides which contain this neuraminic acid are found in human milk. Certain bacterial cell wall also contain this muramic acid. There is an enzyme which is called as neuraminidase. This is the enzyme which hydrolyzes to split this NANA from the compound. Next, what are sugar phosphates? Sugar phosphates are defined as carbohydrates to which a phosphate group is bound by an ester or ether linkage. Sugar phosphates are often used in the biological system to store or to transfer energy. They are also form the backbone for DNA and RNA. So example for this sugar phosphates are dihydroxyacetone phosphate, glucose 6-phosphate and teichoic acid. So this is the structure and importance of sugar phosphates. They occur as intermediates in carbohydrate metabolism. So you in the carbohydrate metabolism you might have seen the formation of glucose 6-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate. So dihydroxyacetone phosphate is an important intermediate in lipid biosynthesis and also in glycolysis. So two of these compounds are namely ribose phosphate and deoxyribose phosphate are the components of nucleotides and nucleic acid. So here need to learn the structure and also the importance of next is disaccharides. So a disaccharides is a sugar that contains two monosaccharide units which are held together by the glycosidic bonds. These monosaccharide units can be similar or it can be dissimilar. They are crystalline, water soluble, and also most of them are sweet to taste. Example under disaccharides includes your maltose, lactose and sucrose. Derivatives. So under derivatives of disaccharides you need to study isomaltose and cellobiose. So isomaltose is the glucose units that are held together by beta 1,6-glycosidic linkage. So here you have two glucose units which are held together by beta 1,6-glycosidic linkage, whereas cellobiose is another disaccharide that is very much similar to maltose in structure. Here they are made up of two molecules of D-glucose that are linked together by a beta-glucosidic linkage between C1 and C4 of the adjacent glucose molecules. So the first one I will be starting with isomaltose structure and importance. So here you can see the isomaltose structure. So it consists of two glucose molecules. So if you learn the structure of glucose, you can write the structure for isomaltose. So this can be metabolized to produce chemical energy. So we call isomaltose as a source of energy. So it may be obtained from the digestion of starch or food which contain isomaltose. So most of the dietary isomaltose, though it is not obtained naturally, it is made available from artificial preparation. For example, high amount of maltose can be prepared from maltose syrup through an enzyme called as transglucosidase. So another way is from sucrose through the bacterial enzyme sucrose isomerase. The artificially made isomaltose is always used as a sweetening agent in confections, in your candies and in canned food. Apart from this, apart from the food industry, artificial isomaltose is also used in animal feed, in medicines and in cosmetics. Next you need to learn the cellobiose structure and its importance. So you can see the structure on the right hand side. So this is linked by beta 1,4 glycosidic bond. So these cellobiose occur naturally as a part of cellulose in certain organisms. So it has we can say it is having a structural role. The presence of cellulose helps, so it is an enzyme which helps in the breakdown of cellulose into shorter chain of glucose such as cellobiose. So recent reports have shown that mammals have endogenous beta glycosidases that metabolize cellobiose in the small intestine. So humans can derive cellobiose from cellobiolase laden foods such as honey, corn syrup, certain fruits and vegetables. So these are the certain source of cellobiose. So human can take this cellobiose from these sources. But the problem is humans does not have the enzyme to digest cellobiose. Thus cellobiose is often used as an indicator carbohydrate for intestinal permeability in certain diseases like Crohn's disease and malabsorption syndrome. So this disaccharide forms a metabolic byproduct of gut flora as they break down cellulose. Next is the trehalose structure and its importance. So if you see, it is a disaccharide consisting of 2 units of glucose that is joined by 1 alpha glycosidic bond. So it's some bacteria, fungi, plants and invertebrate, they synthesize this trehalose as a source of energy and to survive freezing and lack of water. So the bonding, this 1 alpha glycosidic bond makes trehalose very resistant to acid hydrolysis, and therefore this is very stable in solution at high temperature and even under acidic conditions. What is the importance? So trehalose is a constituent of hemolymph of bugs, in which it feels like an energy stockpiling compound. So also it is a major carbohydrate energy storage molecules that is used by insects for flight. One possible reason for this is that again the glycosidic linkage of trehalose, when acted upon by insect trehalase, so this is an enzyme, this releases 2 molecules of glucose which is required for rapid energy requirements of flight. So this is the double the efficiency of glucose release from storage polymer starch, for which the cleavage of one glycosidic linkage releases only one glucose molecule. So this is about your derivatives of monosaccharides and disaccharides. In my next video, I will be explaining the derivatives of polysaccharides. Thank you.